Imagine, if you will, sitting down to your morning coffee, turning on your home computer to read the day's newspaper. Well, it's not as far-fetched as it may seem.
We've come a long way since the birth of the internet, and it's completely changed how we do things. From how we view the world, communicate with each other, and even how we buy things. Hi, my name is Chris. I'm a sales engineer with the Cisco Full-Stack Observability team. I've always been fascinated with how technology has enriched our lives. And looking back at that news report, it reminds me of how far we've come. How long do you think it would have taken to pull up that news article back then? Maybe a couple minutes if we're lucky? Today I get mad if it doesn't show up within a few seconds. With every advancement we make, there's also new challenges that come with it. And when we overcome those issues, the bar is raised and we come to expect more. Coming from a background in IT operations, I supported a mixture of network, security, and infrastructure. I'm all too familiar with those war room situations, where we're working late, sometimes on weekends, searching through different logs, trying to find correlation with, and sometimes against, different members of my team. The problem was we all had different tools, siloed from each other, giving us just one perspective of a much larger puzzle, and no guide how they fit together. What we needed was a platform that took into account all the different aspects that kept our digital assets running. With Cisco Full-Stack Observability, that platform now exists today. Not just giving you insight on the application and the backend infrastructure that you might have come to expect, but rather a holistic view into that full user's journey, end to end, giving you information on the things that matter most, the impact on the business. Speaking of user journeys, I thought the best way to explain this is to take a little journey ourselves. Hop in, let's go for a ride. Google, navigate to New York City.
Sure, New York. Let's go.
Imagine that this is your infrastructure. With all the different systems intertwined and working together for a single purpose, your application has grown beyond a monolithic architecture. Today, as you migrate to AWS, how are you planning to monitor these systems as they span across environments? And what about when it comes to the network performance of your cloud provider or third-party dependency? Well, I'm going to share my screen now and show you how. Cisco Full-Stack Observability looks beyond siloed domain monitoring by leveraging tight integrations from AppDynamics, Cisco Intersight, ThousandEyes, and Secure Application. This dashboard shows all of them working together on a single pane of glass. Armed with full correlation between systems and the ability to see all the information you need in one place, teams have the power to greatly reduce mean time to resolution and simplify root cause analysis efforts. You had mentioned in our discovery meeting that your app was down for about 20 minutes during a peak time on Black Friday. If I may, I'd like to ask you to put yourself in that mindset for a minute. We're going to change the time frame of the controller back to that day and that time. Post estimates have shown the outage to have a total impact of almost $12 million. By putting revenue into focus, we can show impacts on the business in real time via a quick comparison of the total sales in the hour of the incident against the hour before. Let's dive in and see what might have been the cause. Taking us into the application flow map, this is an overhead view of all the components that make up your application. So even as you're migrating to the cloud, we're going to give you full information about all those backend systems. It doesn't matter if it's the Kubernetes cluster in AWS or over the direct connect to your legacy VMs and databases. You're going to see it all in one contiguous view. You can easily follow the flow of each transaction with color-coded nodes that instinctively point to any backend problems. And this all happens while the transaction scorecard is keeping tabs of the action. We measure, tag, and trace each interaction with your application and score them based on the deviation from your baseline. This dynamic baseline learns what's normal for your application by considering hourly, daily, and even seasonal changes. So this helps cut the noise, and when you get an alert, you know it's real and time to take action. When a violation does occur, just like a traffic camera, we take a snapshot of that transaction. It's like being able to go back in time and follow along that user experience with them. Sorting through the transaction snapshots, I've just selected one of the slowest ones. And now we can look through the stack trace, or the lines of code that were run at that particular time. I can quickly spot a massive delay when looking at an outbound call to a third-party dependency. In this case, WorldPay. And this is normally where the journey ends, as we've narrowed down the problem to be an issue outside of your control. With the power of Thousand Eyes, we give you the ability to see into the network stack, a key differentiator when it comes to Cisco full stack observability. To see the exit point out of the application and then in through your network path to your dependencies or onto your cloud provider. As soon as an alert was detected with the WorldPay endpoint, AppDynamics triggered a snapshot in Thousand Eyes. This gives us the ability to continue following that same transaction's journey after it left the data center. From here, we can get a timeline of the connection performance, allowing you to compare trends in availability, latency, and resource timings. You can then look in the table view and compare this against cloud agents that are selected from over 200 different locations around the world. In this case, we've determined the issue to be from your enterprise agent running in your data center. Taking a closer look at the path visualization and tracing through each node, it appears the problem was at the ISP level and out of your immediate control. Now, what if you had this information in front of you at the time of crisis? How do you think it might have played out differently? This reminds me of a similar situation once with a customer where one of their suppliers had performed a recent upgrade to their servers. The upgrade was tested, but later the next day, orders stopped processing. We quickly informed the vendor, but they responded with a 24-hour resolution window. As far as the CIO was concerned, this was a crisis. But because we had the pathway information, we were able to quickly determine where the issue was. This allowed us to get creative. We were able to route that traffic through another co-location to get around the issue. And sure enough, things were back up and running within minutes. Without this insight, it wouldn't have been until the next day. In the end, we saved what could have been hundreds of thousands lost in revenue. Now, what if you harnessed this ability with your recent situation? And how much do you think it might have affected the bottom line? Now, after resolving the issue with WorldPay, we can come back into our dashboard and verify orders processed is back to normal. And by nature of seeing into the full stack, right beside it, we can confirm the health of the network and the backend infrastructure. But more importantly, the health of the revenue and health of the application. But what if your performance issues are due to a lack of resources? Well, right here off the same dashboard, I can immediately see any recommendations on resources when a change in load is detected. And a key takeaway is that it does all this work with the application in mind, as it has a tight integration with AppDynamics. Let's say the performance of the app is suffering due to a limit of memory or compute. We can easily see it reflected in the app metrics and not only confirm the load on the hypervisor level, but we can actually approve changes here. If I want to dig in deeper, we can just drill right into the InterSight portal, which gives me all of those details to my workload either on-prem, in the cloud, or a hybrid of both. This will also give me the ability to automate those changes as I see fit. This is an excellent asset when looking into the optimization of your resources, as well as controlling your cloud spend. The last stop on our trip revolves around something that's been on everybody's mind lately: security. There's so many areas where this is important, and you might feel you already have it covered with your current toolset. But this is all exterior to the asset that you're trying to protect. When you poke a hole in that firewall allowing connections in, you're basically opening the front door to your most important asset. What if you have a vulnerability in your public-facing application? You had mentioned that it takes 120 days on average to identify and fix a security risk. How do you know you're not being attacked right now? With Cisco Secure application, we give you visibility into the vulnerabilities and attacks against your application in real time. We sort and prioritize those in a list by risk level and provide you with immediate remediation abilities. When an attack is detected in real time, an event list gives details on the IP addresses where the violation came from and the blast radius, including the areas that it tried to exploit, giving you insight into the vulnerable code it compromised. With granular policies providing you the ability to block it right in its tracks without a need to reboot the server or restart the application. This gives your team time to plan for the next change window and providing information on the minimum library needed to mitigate the vulnerability. This concludes my demonstration of Cisco Full Stack Observability. We've only scratched the surface on how we can help your teams get back to innovating rather than spending half their time chasing ghosts. While our trip today has come to a close, our journey together has just begun. With your needs for finding fast root cause analysis, reducing mean time to resolution, and finding security threats in real time in your environment, our platform goes beyond what's available with your current siloed toolset. I'm going to send over some available dates and times so we can get started proving this out in your environment. I look forward to working with you soon. Thank you.